Welcome to the first video in the Who Is series. This series aims to give you an impression on what a civilization in Age of Empires feels like to play, what are their specialties, and what you should consider when playing them. So if you have no clue how a civilization feels, this is the video for you. If you are looking for a build order or actual endgame tactics for a civilization, this is not the video for you. Today we will be looking at the Dheli Sultanate. The Dheli Sultanate is a faction with mainly two special things that stick out, and this is you have war elephants and all of your research is free. It also has two minor things that stick out, and these are that your military units can build walls and that your castles are able to produce villagers. So let's talk about the research aspect first. As you may know, Dheli gets all its upgrades for free, but at the cost of increased research time. So let's take the blacksmith as an example. Each other civilization researches each upgrade in the blacksmith regardless of whether it's tier 1, tier 2 or tier 3 in 1 minute. While Dheli takes 3 minutes and 30 seconds for tier 1, 5 minutes for tier 2 and 15 minutes for tier 3 upgrades. Again, it's free, but you pay with your time. You can decrease the time it takes you to research anything by placing your scholars, your religious units, into your universities or into your monasteries, by simply garrisoning them. The first 10, for example, will cut down the time from the 15-minute upgrade to about 5 minutes. Now, how do you get these? First of all, you will be able to build your monasteries or your mosques in H1, so you can start training them there. You should, however, probably wait till H2, because one of your two landmarks is the Dome of Faith. And the Dome of Faith is able to produce the scholars at minus 50% of the cost. Now, if you age up with the Dome of Faith, you will need to have 2 villagers on gold to produce enough gold to just continuously produce your scholars. More and you collect more gold for the next age, less and you won't be able to build scholars all the time. So having 2 citizens on gold is a really good idea for Dheli. And this is also what makes Dheli hard. You do not only need to train villagers, but you will also want to continuously train scholars. Now, how many scholars do you want to train? The answer to this is yes, since you will just want to, as I said, continuously train them. First of all, you can lower the research times with them, and you could easily have 30 scholars for research purposes until you researched everything. As I said, the first 10 cut down tier 1 upgrades to 1 minute, tier 2 to 1 minute 36 seconds, and tier 3 to 4 minutes 48 seconds. Put in another 10, and the research time is lowered to 28 seconds, 40 seconds, and 2 minutes. Put in another 10, and your research time will be lowered to 17 seconds, to 25 seconds, and to 1 minute. Put in another 10 and you probably lost the game because you just suck 40 unit supply in religious units that do not fight and your opponent is overwhelming you. But it also cuts down your research time even more. So aiming for around 20 to 30 scholars in your monasteries is a good idea. Universities can hold 20 scholars each. Monasteries can hold 3 scholars each, and that is why you will want to build more than just 1 monastery or mosque as they are called for the Dheli. One important note, the research time is only lowered in the area of influence around the mosque. So as you can see, if I try to place a mosque here, it has a yellow aura of influence around it. And if I connect it to the blacksmith here, then the blacksmith will be in the area of influence and get its production time or its research time lowered. Let's just put the scholars in again to showcase the difference. Now, as you can see here, this blacksmith is in the area of influence, and so the tier 3 upgrade is now 1 minute and 4 seconds. This blacksmith is not in the area of influence, so this upgrade is 15 minutes. One important note, the area of influence does not need to be connected to your other area of influence, so I can just build this mosque here. And this is now a separate area of influence that will still benefit from the scholars that are garrisoned here. So again, this research time was just lowered. I'm not quite sure if this is a bug, this might be changed in the future, but for the moment this is how it goes. There are some more notes for the scholars for Dheli, and the first one is an upgrade that you can, or in general the upgrades that you can build in the mosque. First of all, herbal medicine is available in H1 at the moment, so you can increase the healing rate of your scholars quite quickly. And at the moment this is quite overpowered. It was banned in the last tournament, so expect this to get changed. You can also research piety in H1 or 2. Again, H1 not really interesting, but you can also research efficient production in H1. And efficient production will allow you to garrison your scholars in your military buildings, and this in turn will allow your military buildings to produce twice as fast. And also to research twice as fast. So let's just get out the research. Efficient production just finished. And let's wait for the barracks to finish. And now we can we can garrison the scholar here. So as you can see, a spearman now takes 15 seconds to build. If I garrison the scholar, it just takes 7 seconds. So you're efficiently doubling your military buildings. And this is something important to keep in mind once you got all the upgrades in the Imperial Age, because if you play a long game, this time will come. You will want to take all of your scholars out of all of your mosques and also out of all of your madrasas or universities, and either use them as battlefield healers or put them into your military buildings to boost your build capacity. The same also holds true for upgrades. As you can see, this upgrade now takes 52 seconds, and if I ungarrison him, this takes 1 minute 45 seconds. There's another important religious upgrade, and this is the Sanctity upgrade. This will allow the Dheli Sultanate to capture holy sites in H2. So if you're not familiar with holy sites, they look like circles on the ground, and I actually haven't scouted one, so let me just scout one really quickly. And you can capture them, and if you hold all of the holy sites on one map for, I think it's 10 minutes, you win the game. But in addition to that, there is an additional benefit to holding holy sites, and this is that they generate gold for you. So if you hold a holy site, it generates 100 gold for you, and if you play a team game, for your entire team. So it's quite handy to actually keep a hold of those. And for Dheli, other than just being able to capture them in H2, they will also generate 50% more gold. This was 100% until recently, it just got nerfed. But it is important to note that you can capture them in H2 and not in H3 like other civilizations can. And that's it for religion for the Dheli Sultanate. To sum it up, your techs are free, your scholars reduce your tech time, and you can build scholars from H1. Don't forget to garrison your scholars. And now we finally found the holy site, or a sacred site, and this is how it looks like. And always build scholars if you build the Dome of Fate, or if you do not play with the Dome of Fate but the other landmark, just build scholars at your convenience in your regular mosques. Keep in mind though that they will be twice as expensive. So let's talk about landmarks next. First Age or Feudal Age landmarks are the Tower of Victory and the Dome of Fate. We already talked about the Dome of Fate in the section about the scholars, so it just makes your scholars 50% cheaper, and this means that you just need 2 villagers on the gold to continuously produce scholars. The other option is the Tower of Victory. It increases the melee and ranged infantry attack speed permanently by 15% if you move them near the Tower of Victory. While it sounds strong at first, keep in mind that this will rob you of the ability to just cheaply produce the scholars, and also you will need to actually move all of your melee and ranged infantry units right next to the Tower of Victory once after you produce them. So especially if you're at your opponent's base and you want to quickly produce units, you do not want to produce them at your base but in front of the opponent's base. You do not want them to run all the way back, so the Tower of Victory quickly loses its value. It can be valuable in aggressive games, but usually if you do not have any experience with Dheli, it's better to go with the Dome of Fate and just continuously use it to produce scholars. Now let's talk about the H3 landmarks. You have the House of Learning, which will grant you some unique technologies, and you have the Compound of the Defender, which will allow your military units to build stone walls, gates and stone towers. Also reduces the cost of those buildings. Now, the House of let's first talk about the Compound of the Defender. For the Dheli Sultanate, your military units, like your archers and your spearmen, your men-at-arms and your crossbowmen, will be able to produce palisades and palisade gates from the get-go. So you do not need to use your villagers to produce those, but you can simply use your military units to place walls. And if you build the compound of the defender, your military units will also be able to build stone walls and stone gates and stone towers. If you are planning of using those a lot, or you want to build them offensively in the field and build them quite quickly since you have a lot of military units to build those, choose the compound of the defender. If you do not plan to go with the compound of the defender, you can instead go with the House of Learning and use the unique technologies it offers to you. So we'll just skip to the finished landmark. So now the landmark is finished, so let's have a look at the 5 unique technologies that you can do here. First of all, you have the reinforced foundations. Your houses and town centers will grant you an additional +5 maximum population. This will save you some wood and also spares you the production time of more houses, so this is a quite useful technology to get. It's also, like any other technologies, free. You just need to decide the orders in which you want to get those technologies, not which you actually want to get. The next one is Tranquil Venue, and this will just passively causes all your mosques to heal nearby friendly units. Helpful if you are getting raided and you want to bring your units back to full health, or if you're being besieged and you want just to have that little bit of extra healing. It will not win fights for you, but it is quite helpful in the long run to just heal your units up. Lookout Towers increases the sight range of your outposts by 50%. Again, helpful if you want the map control. And we have the Honed Blades. This will equip your Man-at-Arms and your Lancers with a sword and basically just increases their damage by +3. So usually you want to get Honed Blades and the house upgrade first, and then take Tranquil Venue and Lookout Towers, unless your game situation dictates otherwise. Once you reach the Imperial Age, you also get the Hearty Rations, which increase the carrying capacity of your villagers by 5, and this is quite a powerful economic upgrade, so just research this once you reach the Imperial Age. And this is it for the H3 landmarks. For the H4 landmarks, you have 2 different options, and this is either the Hissar Academy or the Palace of the Sultan. The Hissar Academy will automatically generate food even without you producing without you having villagers producing food. And the amount of food it produces is based on the number of technologies that you have researched. There was a bug right recently, and I'm not quite sure if this bug has been fixed. And the bug was that if you would research Honed Blades, this would basically reset your research count to 0. Whether or not there's a bug, you usually want to go with the Palace of the Sultan, since the Palace of the Sultan will automatically produce one of Dheli's special units, the Tower War Elephant. This is the ranged elephant, and you can garrison up to 4 scholars in here to boost the production speed. Now, why do I say that you want to go with the Palace of the Sultan? Sparing you complicated mass, usually the Palace of the Sultan is better resource-wise, so it produces more elephants if you calculate the resources than the Hissar Academy would produce food. So yeah, and these are the landmarks of the Dheli Sultanate. You can choose every landmark is viable, but if you're not quite sure what to do, just go with Dome of Fate, House of Learning and the Palace of the Sultan. So let's talk about the unique units of Dheli next, and these are the elephants, the Tower War Elephants and the War Elephants. They are trained in the stable and the archery range respectively, and they are quite expensive units, but they are also quite beefy judging by their health points and also their armor. Each elephant is equipped with additional infantry units. The Tower War Elephant is equipped with archers, which can be upgraded to crossbowmen by this technology, while the War Elephant is manned by spearmen, and they even do their additional damage to cavalry. So War Elephants are quite strong against cavalry, although they are quite slow, so they will not be able to catch your opponent's cavalry. War Elephants can attack stone walls and stone gates, so they can be used as siege engines, though you should not send 1 or 2 of them against the castle, cause they will die to the castle, even though they do some okay damage. Another thing to consider for the War Elephants is that you will want to upgrade 2 Armored Beasts, and this Armored Beast upgrade grant +3 armor to War Elephants and Tower War Elephants. So even if you are just using the tower war elephants, so the ranged elephants, which you will probably do, since I think I have rarely seen the melee elephants utilized, you will still want to build a stable and research armored elephants, since it will also upgrade your tower elephant. And that's it for the special military units. The last thing to keep in mind is that since the elephants have quite a lot of health, they are great targets to heal up with your scholar. Now, let's next go to some unique military technologies for the Dheli Sultanate, or just technologies in general, to be honest. We already saw the unique technologies in the House of Learning and also the ones from the Madrasa. The castle has two unique technologies. The first one is slow burning defenses. It just increases your defenses. Not all that interesting. But the interesting one is village fortresses. And this will cause all of your towns, all of your fortresses or all of your keeps to act as town centers. So they will increase your population capacity. They will be able to produce villagers and also scouts. And they will also serve as a resource drop-off points. So with that in mind, you can simply get a keep, put it right next to a stone outcropping or a gold vein, and use it as a town center. You can just produce from there, which also means that Dheli, once going to H3, will have access to a lot of town centers. Not that you'll necessarily need them, since you also have all of those economical upgrades for free from your mill, your lumber camp and your mining camp, making your villagers more efficient than the villagers of other civilizations. But just keep in mind that your keeps will be able to train villagers. Also keep in mind that your first keep should be in the area of influence of a madrasa, of a mosque, and or otherwise the upgrade will take the full 5 minutes and you will want to reduce it usually. The last unique upgrade to Dheli is the Forced March, and the Forced March will give your infantry units an activated ability that you can actually click, and this will make them walk faster for 10 seconds, but during this time they cannot attack. This ability is great if you need to reposition your units, if you're getting attacked from an unexpected angle, if you want to flee a fight. It just has a lot of utility, but you will need to click it manually, so this is not something that's automatically on, but this is one of the rare activated abilities in the game. And yeah, these are the units of Dheli and how Dheli differs from other civilizations. And now let's look at how to play a usual game with Dheli. Alright, so at the start of a game, like a usual game, you want to queue your villagers and you want to put all of your villagers on sheep and send your scout somewhere off. Next off, you will want to produce all 3 production buildings. So you will want to produce a mill at the berries. And this is because the Dheli Sultanate has a unique bonus to berry collection, which actually makes berries one of the strongest food sources in the game. So you will always want to have your villagers on berries if possible. This also frees up your scout for actual scouting, since you can pull your villagers from the sheep and put them onto berries, resulting in you not needing to bring your sheep home in order to keep collecting food. So that makes it a lot easier to play in that regard than other civilizations. Once your mill finishes, you want to queue wheelbarrows, as this is a strong economical tech and also survival technologies. Other than the mill, you will also want to send one villager building a lumber camp. You will want to send one villager building a house, and you will have one villager sent off to build a mining camp. All of the villagers that are currently at the sheep, you can simply get to the berries. And always keep in mind to produce villagers. Now, once the lumber camp finishes, you can also just research forestry for a minor increase in wood chopping time. Just leave the person that chops lumber on the wood and queue one villager towards gold once you have 8 villagers on food. So your build by now should be 8-1-1, and once you got 2 villagers on gold, you can send the other villagers to wood. Now, while this is running, you will simply wait for your resources and also queue more villagers, so just move your scout around. and explore, collect sheep, steal sheep from your opponents, or have sheep ready for bad times. Because since you do not use your sheep right now, if you're getting harassed by your opponent, you can simply pull your villagers from the berries towards your sheep that you collected at your town center and gather food safely there. So this is again something that makes Dheli more resilient. So we will simply produce more people and scout the map until we reach H2. And the reason that you will send a lot of people on wood early on is that Dheli will need a lot of wood to build all of the different buildings that enable them to research. So you will usually want to build 2 blacksmiths, you will want to build a mosque, and you will want to build barracks. So this should be your first goals. Barracks can be replaced by the archery range if necessary, for example if you're facing an English longbow rush. But this is really what your default setup should be. 2 blacksmiths, barracks, a mosque and an archery range. And of course houses as you need them. So we will now just wait and skip till something interesting happens. So at the moment we can age up. This should usually happen a lot faster, obviously. I just idled my villagers for a good while. And you will use your gold villagers to age up with the Dome of Fate and queue the next villagers towards gold. You can also use a wood villager to create your mosque once this is researched. And if you do so, try to connect the mill and the gold camp or the gold mine if possible. If this is not possible, just use it to connect the mill and the town center or however many buildings you can manage. Now that we have 150 gold soon, we will also build the barracks. And we will soon build another house. Since I idled for a good while, this is not an ideal build order. So we now have the mosque, and you will want to queue efficient production first. And then you can queue other researchers, but you will cancel them, so there's no need to actually queue them. Let me just catch up in houses, and also then let's build the barracks. And once you have 2 villagers on gold again, you will want to send your other villagers to wood. During all this, if you have the ability to multitask, just use your scout to scout for more sheep and bring him back. Or let him bring back the sheep, or scout what your opponent is doing to react to this. Always remember to queue more villagers. And once you have 75 gold, you can also use 1 villager from your gold mine to help out with the production of the Dome of Fate. Now you will want to also queue, as I said, the barracks. And this is really what makes Dheli a bit harder to play, that you want to queue all of those different buildings at the earliest point possible to enable all of the research. So now that the Dome of Fate is finished, we will want to have 3 of our villagers on gold and send the rest to the wood. And we will start to produce scholars in the Dome of Fate. If you plan to go very aggressive early on and you need more wood, or your opponent is very aggressive, you can pull 1 more villager from the gold and send that villager to wood 2 in case you need it, as I said. Once you age up, it's very important to start all of the economical upgrades. So you will want to go to your lumber camp and start to upgrade. You will want to go to your mining camp and start to upgrade. You will also want to go to your mill and start to upgrades, depending on what upgrades you want to go for. Usually if you want to go professional scouts first, and then survival techniques, and then horticulture. Otherwise just get them in any area and any order you want. If you need to expand your food supply, try to build another mill at the berries and build your other queue some more villagers there. And once you reach the 2nd age, you also want to research sanctity, since this will allow your scholars to already take holy sites. This will be a good part of your gold income. Now I also want to build the archery range. And depending on whether I'm already training Spearman or not, I also want to already queue the upgrade for the Hardened Spearman. One important note, it is fine to cancel upgrades with Dheli, since the research time will get stored. As you can see, if I cancel this is now on 1 minute 22 seconds. And again, now this is on still 1 minute 22 seconds, but as you can see, the actual time once I click it is a lot lower. It's now at 1 minute 5 seconds, and I can just cancel it and start the upgrade again. So really research whenever you can. Also for Dheli, you usually want to build 2 blacksmiths, since this will allow you to get your units upgrades in a reasonable time frame. So let's go on. And let's just start to create some units. And since the mosque will now soon be full, I will need to create a second mosque. If you create the second mosque, it's fine to just shift click the second mosque with your Dome of Fate waypoint. So in that case, once the first mosque is full, they will automatically go to the second mosque. And you could also build a third mosque and so on. And now you can reuse your economy to push out an early military force. And with that early military force, you can either go and harass your opponent, or you can now aim to secure the sacred sites by simply walling them in so your opponent cannot take them back. And as I said, just remember that your military units can use walls, so you're not using any villagers for this. Alternatively, if you prefer a less aggressive approach, you can obviously also go for stone and build a second town center. In my case, I will go for this, and then I will also just send my scholars there. And I will actually use... I would use this scholar if I catched it. I will just ungarrison these scholars, and I will move one scholar to this one, since the upgrade is finished soon. And once this upgrade is finished, you can just queue all of the other technologies in the order that you want to queue them. So once the blacksmiths are finished, you can also use the blacksmiths to create your technologies. If you're going really aggressive, research siege engineering first, and also research iron undermesh first. Otherwise, use one to research iron undermesh and steeled arrows, and the other one to research fitted ladderworks and bloomery. Usually going for the defense upgrades first, or going for the range upgrades first. So either you go iron undermesh and steeled arrow in the one, and fitted ladderworks and bloomery in the one, or you go iron undermesh and fitted ladderworks in one, and then steeled arrows and bloomery in the other. So let's go here and also just queue up siege engineering in case we want to actually go aggressive on our enemy. Now we will make sure to keep our villagers queued and our Dome of Fate queued. And also if you're harassed, you feel free to research textiles. As you can see, it's just 19 seconds, so it's about 1 villager that you are missing. If this saves the life of one of your villagers due to increasing its HP, this has already been worth it. Now, once I have some villagers idle, you can either choose to find new food sources, send them to sheep, or as I do in my case, I will just use my excess wood to create some farms here, since I already have the mill ready to go. And if you create the farms, it is good to have horticulture first. Other than that, you can also just go for more berries, or you can go for the sheep you collected. You can go for deers, but you cannot go for a boar, since Dheli cannot use boars. So, now that we have our sacred sites, we can simply look to go on the offensive. We will need some more units, and if I wanted to pump out units even faster, I could just send scholars into my military buildings right now, which is not quite necessary at the moment. So let's just take all of my units and push from my opponent's base to end this game. Usually you do not end the game in the second age, but Dheli is strongest in the castle age, since you get your elephants there. So try to go to the castle age as fast as possible, and then just push your opponent in with elephants, which is what I will do right now. One important note, I just placed this House of Learning outside of the Sphere of Influence, so I will just build a mosque here to put it in the Sphere of Influence again, so that I do not have any issues with the technologies from the House of Learning being slow. And this is basically how you play Dheli. From this point on, feel free to push your enemy or to defend or to capture all the sacred sites. Sacred site victory is perfectly fine for Dheli. I hope this video was helpful to you, and if so, leave a like, and expect the next civilization video to come out somewhere next Friday, I guess, maybe sooner if I can find the time. Bye!